Hey everybody, welcome to Free Tip Friday. Today I want to talk about something that's a little bit in reaction to some stuff that I've been seeing over the past week, maybe 2 weeks. And it's critically important to reptile keeping, especially if you want to do it at a level where you're breeding, you're trying to become successful in either creating new babies, or preserving a certain bloodline, or making money, trying to get your hobby to pay for itself. This is critical, and this episode is going to be a little bit different because I want to talk about keeping perspective and the right mindset to be a successful reptile keeper. So it's not going to be about how to keep them, how to clean them, how to feed them, but it's overarching more, and it's my philosophy that allows me to, hey baby, keep doing what it is that I love.
Happy weekend, everyone. I named the snake since she peed across the room. It looked like a rainbow, so I called her Pee Rainbow. Bye, guys.
So, this week I have had, I don't know what the deal is. It seems like there is a slew of adversity coming against some friends of mine in the reptile industry. Okay, one guy I know had some babies that he's been working on for generations, and it's a very cool, unique project that is, his vision for reticulated pythons, and he had a great clutch, but a lot of the babies died in the egg full term. I mean, absolutely heartbreaking, and he only really wanted, one particular animal that he needed out of the clutch, and didn't get that animal because of the losses. Another friend of mine is just kind of getting started out, and he has a diverse collection of a bunch of different species, and he got hit with a disease, and it wiped out a whole bunch of his snakes, especially his ball pythons. And this is a young guy, and he's kind of just getting started, and he got to the point of kind of wanting to give up. Actually, the other guy who bred the eggs, they both said to me in one way or another, like, you know what, I just want it to be over. I just want to get out. I just want to be done. A third friend of mine didn't quite get to that point, but took a devastating loss as well when an adult female that he was looking very much forward to breeding became egg-bound. And, we were up with her all night trying to save her, but the stress of that experience just ended up being too much for her, and she died. So the question that I want to address in this week's Free Tip Friday is, how do you move on after a disaster like that? How do you continue doing what you love when it breaks your heart? One of the largest fears in life is the fear of failure, and it's one of the things that keeps us back from reaching our full potential as reptile keepers and as human beings. My philosophy and my thoughts on fear are this: it doesn't really matter if I fail. It only matters that I live. And I mean really live. Because I don't have that much time to do that either. And none of us really knows exactly how much time we have here on Earth. So the important thing is that today I live, and I really live. I am much more afraid of not taking advantage and living my life to the fullest every day than I am of trying to do that and failing. And I think that this is a critical point for each of us, that, if you want to get out and try something new and be a pioneer and do this kind of stuff for yourself, it's going to take this attitude. You have to erase the fear of failure and replace it with a healthy respect for your own mortality. My greatest ability in all of life has always been my ability to take a hit and just get up and keep going. And it's in all aspects of my life. Physically, I can take a hit and keep going. I remember playing football in high school. I was right guard at about 175 pounds. I was the smallest lineman that was starting on my football team. You know, in high school football, a lot of people they don't engage psychologically, and they become afraid of getting hit, so they soften a little bit, and you know your opponents are going to take advantage of that. I never had that. I would just stand up. I was often faced against a guy that was literally twice my size sometimes. And these guys would just hit me and bend over. I felt like my back was going to break, and then the whistle would blow, and I'd stand up and do it again. Hey, pipe down over there in the peanut gallery, please. Thank you. The one thing I was always good at, I couldn't catch, I couldn't throw. I was so pathetically slow at running, but you could hit me as hard as you want, and it didn't bother me at all. Emotionally, this has been my greatest ability. It was funny. I was the biggest dork in high school, and I was goofy looking, and I was socially awkward, but there was one thing that I wasn't afraid of, and that was rejection. I was not afraid of failure, to take that hit emotionally. And so I would go up and talk to the girls that nobody else would. I remember one time, by the way, if any of you are in high school, mark my words on this, nerds make the best friends. They're loyal, they don't have anywhere else to go, and they're good people. They're just weird. If you can get over that and the social stigma, hang out with the nerds and you'll have friends for life. But at any rate, so I'm hanging at my nerd table during lunch, and I was eating some lemon head candies. And I'm sitting there eating these candies. And there was, you know, that girl in school that walked by, and she was just so attractive. She walks by and he goes, "Oh my gosh, there goes Cassie. She's so fine. I wish she would talk to me." And, you know, my buddies were all laughing at him. And I took one of my candies out, and I looked over at Cassie, and I chucked it at her. And I said, "Hey, Cassie." And she turned, and right as she turned, this thing, pow, hit her between the eyes. And she said, "Ow, you bleep, bleep." And I turned around to the guys and I said, "She talks to me." And of course it was good for a laugh. But the next day, she sat down next to me on the bus and was like, "What the heck was that?" You know, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry," you know. And I just told her straight up the story. You know, all of my friends think that you're hot. You're like the smoking hottest girl in school. And I wouldn't disagree. And one of my buddies was being funny. He said he was afraid to talk to you, you know, or wished that you would talk to him. And so I threw it at you, and I turned around and I said, "She talks to me." And she had the laugh. And that Friday night, we went on a date. So emotionally, I was just never afraid to do it. And so, you know, you're going to have so much more success, guys, just going up and asking the girl. It's amazing. You think she could have the choice of anyone, but they're waiting for somebody to approach them. And when everyone else is intimidated to do that, there's your chance, you know? Just be nice, be straightforward, and go ask her out. And don't care about the, you know, the yes or the no. Spiritually, you know, I've been able to take a hit and keep going. And all of us have this spiritual aspect to ourselves. I know for me, the biggest thing was when I was a kid. I think I was about 20 years old, and I was living in Indonesia during the time of the big tsunami in Banda Aceh. You know, the one that killed 300,000 people. I know people's brains blank over when that happens, but for Americans, to put that in perspective, that's 100 times the fatality and death rate of 9/11. So this was a huge catastrophic event. And I actually went over there to try to help out, see what I could do. And I was on the second airplane that landed in Banda Aceh immediately following the earthquake and the tsunami. And, you know, without going into detail, all the supplies and food we had, tons and tons of food and medicine and things like that, they were just gone immediately. And there was nothing left to do, and I was there for 5 days. And I went with a team of philanthropists, of doctors, translators, all these people with all these skills that they could do. And I was just a young punk. So the only thing that I had going for me at the time, I leveraged, which was I was, you know, in good shape, physically strong. And so I went out and basically would just bag bodies for 4 days. I don't remember eating or drinking or sleeping. I'm sure I had to do some of those things at some point, but that point in my life was a blur. I mean, it was horrific, the stuff you see when you do that kind of thing. And I don't mean to get all like weird on you guys, but But that rocked me. That situation really rocked, and it changed my perspective of everything that I thought I knew up until that point. But I survived. I survived. And that's the thing, guys. When you hit these big tragedies or these unexpected events in your life, you survive. That's it. You survive. And you continue going back to trying to live each moment as well as you can. And then you begin to write your own future and take control of your destiny in that way. So that was my greatest ability. And I encourage all of you guys to just strengthen yourself in that. Don't be afraid of taking things on. Jump out there and be willing to get hurt. And if you can exercise that muscle, that lack of fear of rejection and failure, the character that you'll build, the integrity and the depth of person that you have will allow you to handle anything that life throws at you. One more thing I just want to make a point is that whatever you did in your past does not equal your future. If anything, it helps you open your eyes to a new possibility. Instead of just following the way everybody says they've done things, you begin to see life in your own way. And that allows you to become a pioneer and blaze a new trail that other people hadn't thought of going down before because of your unique failure. Tony Robbins said, the only thing that keeps us from getting what we want is the story we keep telling ourselves about why we can't have it. The only thing that keeps us from getting what we want is the story we tell ourselves about why we can't have it. And this is so powerful to me, guys. One thing about Tony Robbins that you might not have known, his parents were divorced at 7. He had a pituitary tumor that caused him to grow 10 inches during high school. And he describes his childhood as chaotic and abusive. And then he goes on to become one of the greatest philanthropists and educators of our time. So let me just paint a picture for you guys really quickly about failure and loss, okay? Failure and loss is like a giant window. Imagine a big plate glass window, and you're standing on the inside of this cell or whatever with this big glass window. And on the other side of that cell, you can look through it and see as clear as day the vision of what you want your life to be. So imagine standing in your house and looking outside. And the only thing between you and that, you can see it. It's right there, but you can't experience it. If you're on the inside of a glass, you can see it, but you can't smell it. You can't taste it. You can't touch it unless you stand up and just smash through that glass. Just stand up and go straight through the glass head first. Probably gonna hurt, might cut you all up, but on the other side, you get to experience your vision of what is to come. I just wanted to encourage you guys with that. I know that a lot of you guys are here just to ask questions about how to take care of your snakes or whatever the case may be, but I do get a lot of questions about going into business or starting a reptile hobby that can pay itself off. And I will tell you, before you ask me questions about what kind of snake should I breed or what's the best morph to get invested in or any of those other questions that, funny enough, people selling snakes will just tell you that the best thing to get into is whatever they happen to have for sale at the moment. What I will tell you is the number one thing that you need to do is have a healthy respect for not living your life to the fullest, an absolute fear of not seizing every single day and making it everything that you can be, because you don't know how much time you have. So take today and just make it the best day of your life. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Have a great weekend. I love you guys, and we'll see you on the other side. Good girl. You did a good job. Yeah. You were so distracting. Yes, you were.